Welcome to the PCGS Collector Education Program. Today, as part of Grading 102, we'll be taking a look at surface reflectivity and contrast. Surface reflectivity and contrast is a qualifier, and so far we've looked at several other qualifiers. The first is color, which is seen on copper coins, strike, which we recognize on certain nickel and silver coins, and today we'll be taking a look at surface and the qualifiers we use to describe that. Now we split that into two main categories, mint state and proof. Surface on mint state coins is almost exclusively determined on Morgan dollars, and PCGS gives recognition if the fields display a certain degree of reflectivity. We currently recognize two levels of reflectivity, Prooflike, or PL, and Deep Mirror Prooflike, or DMPL. So let's take a look at some of the coins in various states of reflectivity. We'll start with a non-PL coin, and as you can see, it displays little to no surface reflectivity. We describe this as frosty or satiny luster, with absolutely no reflection in the fields. Our second example is what we would call proof-like, and a proof-like coin will display clear reflection in the fields at a distance of between 2 to 4 inches. So if you take a look at this coin, you'll see that the device is somewhat frosted and the fields are displaying a little bit of reflectivity. However, it can get far deeper than that, and for that we reserve the description DMPL, standing for Deep Mirror Prooflike, and that is a coin which will display clear reflection in the fields at a distance of up to 6 inches. And you can see the fields here are quite mirror-like, and the devices, of course, are heavily frosted, providing a very nice contrast. On proof coins, we look at surface in a slightly different way. We give recognition if there's high visual contrast between the devices and the fields. It appears usually as frosting on the devices and a mirror-like reflectivity on the fields. And once again, we recognize two different levels. We recognize Cameo, or CAM, and Deep Cameo, or as described in the industry, DCAM. So let's take a look at some proof coins displaying various cameo contrasts. The first is a non-cameo coin, and you will see it displays little to no surface contrast. The devices and the fields are virtually identical, and once again, there's little to no contrast. A cameo will display light to moderate frosting on the devices, and it's important to remember this frosting must appear on both sides of the coin. If it's only on one side or another, it will not qualify as a cameo. But you can see in this coin you've got deeply mirrored fields, and you've got some frosting on the head and the eagle on the back, but not a great deal. But on a deep cam or DCAM, you will see that that degree of frosting is very heavy, and it stands out in sharp contrast to the fields. And again, it must appear on both sides of the coin. Let's take a look at a few of the other coins displaying contrast. This is a seated half dollar, a non-cameo seated half. You can see the devices in the fields. There's little to no contrast. A cameo seated half will display some light frosting on the devices, on the eagle and on the figure of seated liberty. You can see there's some contrast, but a deep cameo or deep cam will show heavy frosting. The devices are almost white, and the fields are deeply mirrored, and they stand out in stark contrast. And finally, we'll take a look at a Morgan dollar. This is a non-cameo Morgan dollar, again displaying no contrast between the fields and the devices. A cameo Morgan dollar will show some frosting and a little bit of contrast between the mirror fields and the devices. But a deep cameo Morgan dollar shows very, very heavy frosting on both the head of liberty and the eagle. Makes a very, very sharp and dramatic contrast. It almost looks like a modern medal. So we hope you've enjoyed our look at surface, and stay tuned for further installments in the PCGS webinar series.